Cstv News at 24 on Cstv. My name is Dorcas Mesa. Cstv News at 24 is brought to you by Rema Ocean Agency, Celeste Whitstone Brown, Nap Apartment Hotel, and Crystal Jorek Pet Shop. Now, in the headlines, EC has scheduled February 11th to meet with political parties. Also, NDC probing to Ayawaso East primary will target both givers and receivers. These and many more stories be coming your way, as well as business news and sports updates. Stay tuned. You're still live on Cstv News at 24 on Cstv. To our first story for tonight, the Electoral Commission has called an inter-party advisory committee meeting as part of its preparations for the forthcoming Ayawaso East by-elections. In a notice to the General Secretaries of registered political parties, the Commission indicated that the meeting would take place on Wednesday, February 11, 2026 at 11 o'clock a.m. at its head office in Accra. According to the Commission, discussions at the meeting will center exclusively on the conduct and organizations of the Ayawaso East by-elections. As still on stories from the Ayawaso East by-elections, the Deputy Director of Operations at the Presidency, Mustafa Gbandi, says the party has decided to investigate issues that pops up at the NDC Ayawaso East primary. According to him, this will enable the party to make a conclusive stand as to who will engage in the activities of the sort.
Decided that those pieces of information which were forwarded to us were worth of being investigated. And so a committee have been set to look into it thoroughly to ensure that the evidences provided were examined, video footages, pictures, and everything that came out of the election would be considered to enable us to make a conclusive stand as to who were engaged in activities of this sort. Let me also state that even the fact that we have decided to issue a statement is to give the public an assurance that the reset agenda is not only limited to government, but also it transitions our party into a better party where our rules, values, must be upheld by each and everyone. It doesn't matter who you are. Once your conduct is found to undermine the collective stability of the party, the credibility of the party, and our values, you will be dealt with according to the laws of the party. It doesn't matter who is involved. The NDC is a beacon of our democracy, and we are seen championing that democracy, and we have to be seen upholding the standard. And that is what the statement means.
Thank you. Greater Accra National Democratic Congress Chairman Emmanuel Niyashimo has described the alleged vote buying at the Ayawaso East NDC primary as a very difficult thing to look at. In an interview with him, he stated,
"You know, the NDC has tried as far as we can to do away with vote buying. In time past, it was 30 people who were voting from the branches. Then we increased the delegation, the delegate quorum. And you could remember that I think somewhere around 2015, we even increased it that each and every member who bears a card and has paid the dues to certain years should be able to go and vote. That one also didn't go well for us. If we say election is expensive. I said that because of mobilization of election. I can tell you how much money we spend even bringing these small elections together. Logistics, I mean, printing of all those things. That is why I said that. But for vote buying, how can you monitor it? How can you control it? There are thousands and over delegates over here. As a regional chairman, as a national chairman, as a general secretary, what can you do? Do you know what aspirant is doing in his bedroom? Today, Momo is available. Bank transfers are available. Warehouses are available. So it is everywhere. It's an allegation. What can the political party do to make sure that we combat this disease? So it's very difficult to look at. But I haven't seen it. Well, I'm not the delegate. Nobody has given anybody. But as a hearing say that we have to pick it and see, and all the political parties should see and work on it.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
You're welcome.
And now let's move on to the Greater Accra region. Construction works has begun on the Pantaya-Bokobi Road Rehabilitation Project, including the internal roads of the Pantaya Hospital, with contractors promising early completion despite traffic management challenges. Managing Director of the Areco Construction, Joseph Adams, in an interview stated that works began a few days ago with a major attention undeteriorated significantly. He then added that ground stabilization works on the diverted sections were expected to be completed by the close of the day to allow the safe passages of vehicles, particularly heavy trucks. And now our way to the Fatima municipality, affected residents of the area demanding a compensation from the Atlantic Lithium Company due to the Ewoya lithium delay. Affected residents has given the company a one-week ultimatum to meet their demands. At a press conference, the concerned Ewoya lithium affected people lamented how their livelihood have been poised. The group secretary, Frank Aqua, stated.
Atlantic Lithium Mining Company has prevented us from continuing our development. Our structures and materials on site are damaged. Our lives have been placed on indefinite hold. Suddenly, up to this point, no compensation has been paid despite our repeated efforts. This failure is a clear violation of Article 20 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, which guarantees the prompt payment of fair and adequate compensation when property rights are affected. As a result, we have been prevented from continuing our projects and are now living in rented accommodations. We are struggling to service loans that were taken to fund these projects. Those of us who are farmers are also suffering because the company has placed a ban on cash crops, which has caused financial hardship for farmers.
Threatening a lawsuit.
Also, the group has called on Parliament and stakeholders to intervene in the matter at hand.
Demonstrate against Atlantic Lithium Mining Company in the coming days.
Serious.
If we are not compensated after this press conference and our impending demonstration, we will go back to site and work, and even that, we will still demand compensation for wasting our time and damaging our structures.
Yeah, exactly.
We also call on Parliament of Ghana, legal practitioners, chiefs, religious bodies, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice (SRAJ) to urgently intervene on our behalf. Furthermore, we respectfully appeal to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Emmanuel Ama Kofi Pua, to urgently intervene and ensure that compensation is paid to we the affected people in Bantama municipality.
Yes.
From a way.
More stories will come in your way after the commercial break. Stay tuned.
Company Limited. So we blocks machines here, papa. None bonso assign Edda for dia. Any na Enwani Amsal Company Limited. Your conveyor blocks machines, hydraulic blocks machines, pallets, any blocks machines in one session in and nothing so blocks machines are who draw opening in a bin so ewo. To show your chapwine in a year. There was Spinters Road 18 Junction. Yani KFC Dino and a dish anymore. Frey, it was 05,240 and I say 0540-725850. Amsel blocks machines in papa efie. Yamawa kwaba ediba.
The manager of Crystal Jurek Pet Shop. Here, we have varieties of pet foods and accessories. When it comes to dog foods and cat foods, we have everything. We have the 25 kg pellets, the 20 kg, the 10 kg. We have Happy Home, High Performance, Dog Chew, Jack Pet Food, GC Puppy and Adults, High Retrieval, Happy Canine. When it comes to the leashes or the collars, we have everything, whether small, medium or large. We have their supplements, their vitamins, fish oils, medicated soaps, and their tablets. We also have the flea and tick sprays, their refreshers. And when it comes to their bowls, we have different types of bowls. Stainless or plastic bowls, medium, large. We have their traveling bags, their bathing tubs, their towels, and all their chains as well. We also do breeding of dogs and cats. Whether you are looking for poodles, puppies, any mixed breed, we have them. Foreign cats too are available. When it comes to their treats, we have the big bones, we have their biscuits, we have their snacks. We have our locations. One is located at East Legon American House, adjacent KB Clay, near Intifo Avenue Street. We also have a branch at Blue Lagoon, Sacramento, opposite the Ghana Poultry Farmers Association, General Anchor Street. You can contact us on 0243 03 2066 or 020 473 8175. At Crystal Jewelry, we will always want your pet to smile.
Welcome back from the commercial break. You're still live on CSTV News at 24 on CSTV, streaming live on YouTube and all social media handles at CSTV GH. Now, let's move on to business stories. Dr. Castle Atuforsen has announced that Ghana is set to establish its first ever assay laboratory by the end of 2026. This is said will allow the government to independently verify the value of gold produced by large-scale mining companies and transform the country's gold industry.
Our next policy line will be to encourage Ghana Gold Board to, latest by the end of the year, have a fire assay lab so that all large-scale mining companies will take their gold through fire assay at the gold board lab for us to ascertain the true value of our royalties. Over the years since independence, this has never happened. And so as to whether we are getting the right royalties, we are at the mercy of these large-scale companies. Today, I can confidently say that plans are far in advance, and by the end of the year, Ghana will have its first ever fire assay lab for us to get the true value of our royalties so that we can use these royalties to develop our country. I think the Gold Board is doing an excellent work. They need to be supported. I want to use this opportunity to urge the people of Ghana to support the vision of His Excellency the President. This was a vision that he started in 2016. For some interesting reason, we couldn't continue when we lost office in 2016. And the 2020 NDC manifesto, we announced the formation of the Gold Board. Again, we did not win that election. And 2024, God being so good, He gave him the power to be able to implement this vision. We are all seeing the benefit of what dreams and vision can do for a country. So join me to celebrate the beginning of refining our gold. And so today is the first day that we've been first batch of the refining.
Still in business news, in a bid to encourage voluntary compliance with value-added tax and boost revenue mobilization, the Ghana Revenue Authority has inaugurated a national VAT compliance and enforcement team to strengthen VAT compliance among businesses and individuals. Speaking at the inaugural ceremony, the Commissioner General of the GRA, Mr. Anthony Kwesi Sapon, said the authorities are embarking on a journey to reform VAT in the country.
Today marks one of the significant moments in our journey to reform VAT in Ghana. As you are all aware, we started the reform activities from last year, which culminated in the passage of the new VAT Act. And with the assent by the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we commenced the implementation on 1st January 2026. Part of this reform will mean that we need to encourage voluntary compliance of VAT. And the reason is that we see VAT as a major tax type that contributes or has the potential to contribute significantly for domestic revenue towards national development. Today, our statistics shows that the VAT gap is about 60%. In other words, out of every 100 registered taxpayers, only about 40 are paying VAT. Or, in another sense, our potential for VAT towards revenue collection, we are only making up to 40%. That will mean that if we were to put on a WAEC scale, we probably are failing and will not get our scores, so we will not pass. On that score, we as GRA, as tax administration, need to do well to ensure that we are moving way beyond the passing grade to a grade A scale, which is 90+%. But we cannot do that alone. We need to work with our partners in business to ensure that we are deriving the necessary revenue from VAT towards national development. So,
and now let's move on to the international front also. Train drivers in Spain are due to begin a 3-day nationwide strike in protest of what they say is a lack of safety guarantees on the country's rail system. The drivers' union are demanding the hiring of more staff and increased investment and maintenance. Sports update will be coming your way right after the commercial break. Please stay with us. You are welcome back from the commercial break. It's still live on CSTV News at 24 on CSTV now. Let's move on for sports update for tonight. Gary Neville felt VAR didn't need to intervene during the dramatic ending of Liverpool's defeat to Manchester City. We saw Cheki's goal disallowed and Dominic awarded a red card.
I do want to mention the goal at the end that was, I don't think Erling Haaland scored. I think it's Cherky actually.
It's Cherky's goal, yeah.
Yeah, Cherky kicked it, didn't he? And then there was the wrestle between Szoboszlai first on Haaland and then Haaland on Szoboszlai. Look, we know that the referee and the VAR officials have got to the right. VAR's ruining football and VAR takes the joy out of the game and it's taken away the entertainment. That has just been one of the best bits of evidence that you'll possibly want, because that was a great football moment in a season where you just got absolute bedlam at the end of a game, players fouling each other, the ball dribbling in the net, a team coming from 1-0 down that have hardly ever won here and basically going winning 3-1. You know, fans celebrating with the players on the pitch. There was a little bit of a mini invasion from a couple of City fans. It's the classic sort of English football moment, isn't it, in a season where you think, if you look back at the end and City were to start narrowing the gap on Arsenal, you'd look at that moment there as being the celebration, the moment. I think 10 City players on the bench ran over and celebrated with Haaland. So, yeah, it was just felt like a golden moment that basically is taken away from the game. Liverpool fans didn't particularly want it at that point. They knew the game had gone. Szoboszlai now gets a red card, so he's off and doesn't play next week. So, yeah, no one wins, I think. But look, if I'm being cold about it, the referee, VAR officials have got to the right decision, but it just, something didn't smell right about it at all. They didn't need to intervene. And I'm not saying that you can be subjective about when you intervene in the emotion of a football match. You've got to apply the rules and the laws, else we'd go crazy, wouldn't we? And if that had been 0-0, we'd have said absolutely make sure you make the right decision. But at that moment, it just didn't feel right.
Still in sports news, Newcastle head coach Eddie Howe has admitted he is not doing well at the moment as the pressure on Newcastle mounted after a 3-2 defeat to Brentford. Newcastle are just as close to the relegation zone as they are to qualify to Champions League qualifications.
I always feel under pressure. It's irrelevant to me. The type of pressure, I think when you're in this job, you're always in that moment, whether it's pressure to win and keep winning or whether it's pressure to turn around results. We're very much in that feeling. I've always say that the pressure I put on myself couldn't be more extreme, because I demand really high standards from what I'm doing, how I work, what I ask the players to do. I'm obviously not doing my job well enough at the moment.
Former Ghana international Charles Taylor has revealed that the management of Accra House of Oak made big promises to them ahead of the CAF Champions League final against Tunisia in the year 2000. According to him, players of the Phobians were promised $25,000 each as winning bonus before their game, but they never got the money.
$25,000 no, and one and we too. I didn't free crowd. Yeah, quite finish or when you no, and you catch on there, you be so be a crab back, and you have a casa. Because handy ya was see who say the air was seeing you. Dear Honona, Obia discuss it. I do acquire $25,000. You see, Binya. No, $25,000. Okay, yeah, me or circle for Ishmael, Jacob Nutty, I'm a comrade cool down, Steven, Samia J, Johnson, Jatete, Skenya, no, Obiadio Benya cry $2,000. Sanom, and why not a baby, a bank account can't be bound, no more charming. And you will call it me. A fresh $300. If you go $150. Or some of so it man about $50. We are not a pony news. Nipa Cassie will come $50.
And now let's move on to entertainment stories also. Nigerian singer and entrepreneur Mr. Easy has raised concerns about the persistent challenges African artists and entrepreneurs face when crossing borders, describing the situation as major setback to continental unity and economic development. Speaking at the African Prosperity Dialogues, Mr. Easy stated that despite his international success, traveling and doing businesses within often proves more difficult than touring Europe or the Americans.
I've spent my career in the past 10 years collaborating across, and that experience has taught me a few things, very few things that I will put into 3 things, and which is number 1, Africa's greatest constraint is not lack of talent, which we all know. At the same time, it is not lack of ambition, speaking as a young entrepreneur. But the biggest problem we face is friction, and this is why this is important to me, and this is why I'm speaking. I'm going to speak about friction for a second. In the last 10 years, I've spent 6 of those years as a singer touring the world, and 4 of those years, doing a lot of entrepreneurship. And 2 things remind me. I remember when I was 2 things. One, I remember that in the first 6 years, on the first 2 years of me blowing up, it was easier to tour America and tour Europe than tour Africa as a singer. So whilst I had the biggest songs, whilst I had the top #1 songs in Africa, it was harder for me to tour. And I remember 2 occasions, one of me going into Kenya with my band, and even though I'd been paid to perform, I was stopped at the border. And whilst my band, which had, other nationalities, could go in, I, who was the lead artist who was paid the most money, had to wait at the border.
Ghanaian musician and entrepreneur Ms. Bell has shared her views on LGBTQI+ issues, stating she sees nothing wrong with the people's sexual orientation or choices. According to her, members of the LGBTQ community possess unique qualities that often make them successful in life.
It's at all. I don't find anything wrong with what people want to do with their sexual stuff. It's not a big deal. So, obani obe dani be manu be me dani na. Enye ne start here. And it won't end now. And what do we need to form now, Shepa? They are very successful people. Yeah. Because, see, they have some special kind of energy. Some special kind of energy because they only 2 in 1. Or you're feminine and or you're masculine. And say, nyame bi wo ho ampa. It will be nyame no obey feminine and masculine. Because feminine and masculine na can body on the yin and yang. So I see gay people as divine people who are being misunderstood. So me, I don't have anything against them. Spirituality doesn't have anything against anybody's sexual life. The way I person we are a baby will be at least uti say na was say uko na di ho it's okay with me. So now it is okay with me. I like gay people naturally because they are fun to be with.
And that will be all for tonight's news bulletin. Tonight's news bulletin was brought to you by Rema Ocean Agency, Celeste Whitson Brown, NAP Apartment Hotel, and Crystal Chorek Pet Shop. For more news updates, subscribe to our YouTube channel at CSTV News at 24 and on all social media handles at CSTV GH. My name is Dr. Spencer. Good evening.